And remember now, there's no computers, anything like this. This was strictly research. He had a world atlas map, and him and another member, Jim Trombley, they actually did a presentation to the club about the possible impact sites on the Earth if this asteroid hit. It made the Tri-County News, which is now the Macomb Daily. So they were big stuff. I was really impressed. They asked me to be part of the group, but you had to have good math skills. I did not have that, so I had to decline. Okay, so, but anyway, that's some of my experience. Gerry Alyea gave me a call one day, and he says, "Hey Mark," he says, "you interested in grinding a telescope there?" And I says, "Oh, what's it going to cost me?" He says, $5. Somebody started grinding one. He lasted about an hour on it. He said, "This wasn't for me." So anyway, he set me all up, and about 60 hours later, I actually finished 8-inch f4.5 mirror. It took me 30 years to get it coated and figured, but that's when I got back into the club in 2000. So at that time there, some life experiences, I worked in a custom fab shop, making things. I learned some little skills. My father-in-law is a carpenter. So I learned little skills, and also I liked to tinker a little bit. And a telescope was just the perfect vehicle for me to do some tinkering. So what I've done, and my daughter's here, Elena, she's a school teacher. She teaches science, 6th grade. She's seen some of my contributions, and Mom says I have too many telescopes, right? That's it.
Don't say that.
That's it. Well, like I say, when Joe Toku travels, he's got to have at least 2. Because they explained to him, he says, if you only go with one, you're going to have a miserable weekend because you wish you would have brought the other one too. You know, so right? So that's the way that goes. Okay, amateur telescope making combines a few little things. Back when I was in high school, you know, a lot of amateur telescope makers would grind, polish mirrors. Fortunately, we had club members that could do that stuff. Also making components to make a telescope, and then maybe they might purchase something that leaves much to be desired. You want to upgrade it to make it user-friendly for yourself. And that's what I really got into, is like when I made my first telescope, put it together, there was always a little something that I could have done better. And so I kept on doing my modifications. So my 8-inch f4.5, you'll see a picture of it later, it's got all these little dent marks in the tube because I went from a fixed tube to one into a rotating system like this right here. So that way you can rotate the focuser to a comfortable viewing right here. And it actually opens up and everything, you know, attached the Dob bearings to it. So that's what I usually do with all my telescope projects that I do. I use this kind of like a rotating tube mount right there. You'll see that a lot of times in equatorial reflectors. They have the 2 little knobs and the band going on there. So anyway, let's get started. 2 years ago, I had a friend at, also I brought a timer so that way I don't speak too long, okay? So there we go.
Where can I get one?
What's it? Want to get one of those timers?
Leave out
You might have to get one just a little bit bigger. Okay, adventures in telescope, amateur telescope making, upgrading the 1987 f4.5. It's a short focal length Coulter Odyssey Dobsonian Reflector. And I was trying to, somebody asked me, what's a Dob? Somebody say, hey, I got a Dob. What's a Dob? You know. And if you go onto a Cloudy Nights website, there's a big long thread that's about 6 pages long. I only got through the first one because everybody's got their own opinion, okay? What is the difference between a Dobsonian and a Newtonian, okay? And actually, they're both Newtonians. It does not change regardless of how it's mounted. It's still a Newtonian optical system. You have a mirror reflecting, right? Okay?
Just like our logo.
All right? Every Dobsonian has a Newtonian optical path, but not every Newtonian is a Dobsonian. Okay, so this is some of the stuff that's going on. A Newtonian is defined by the optical path. A Dobsonian, more or less, is defined by its mount. Okay? The Newtonian is defined by the optical path. Okay? John Dobson, who got the name Dobsonian, he just favored the simplicity of a Newtonian optical system. And then somebody really come up to, I had to stop right here, a Dobsonian, his description of it is a minimalist approach to construction using common materials mounted on an Altaz base with simple kinematics that employ direct transfer of weight to low friction sliding bearings. Does that sound pretty good?
Pretty good.
And I left it right at that, okay? So anyway, 2 years ago, a friend I worked with, he called me up one day, he said, hey Mark, there's a garage sale in my neighborhood. It was over in Sterling Heights. And he says, they got a telescope out there. He said, I'd like to buy it. Come over and look at it. So he called him, I went out there, Sterling Heights. We spent 15 minutes trying to find where the house was at because he forgot it in one day. So luckily it was a nice sunny day, we went there, and this is what we found. Nice, and it was in beautiful shape. Okay, Coulter Optical. It was a 10-inch f4.5, and I was saying when you're looking overhead, this is definitely a sit-down scope, okay? It actually came with a Telrad, and I compared it to the one I got in like 2001. The only thing that's different on it is they had like these little nuts on it, and now they got little plastic knurled screws that you can adjust your collimation on that, okay? So it's called an Odyssey 10 compact reflector. In the back of it, this is really intriguing me right here, this is the mirror cell, okay? Right there is your collimation, and that's your mirror lock. So you have to unscrew it. As you can see right there, it really can cool down really quick, okay? And there's a lot of air that gets into that too, okay? So I knew that I'll be looking at that a little bit later, okay? The base, we'll see right here, the focuser is like basically a plumbing part, like a PVC, but it's a machined aluminum tube, and if you just get the friction just right, it's a friction focuser. So if you just twist it, it kind of works its way up, it works its way back. Okay, there's no threads on it. It's just, if you just screw something in, it'll just slowly go in and out.
Those are
I
horrible.
said, okay. Okay, so I says, I'm gonna have to do something about that. Also, it looks like we see where the Telrad's mounted, it's way down at the end of the tube. Okay, so I was looking at that too. Inside, I said, okay, now I'm gonna have fun trying to collimate this secondary if I have to, okay? Because you don't see any collimation screws like you normally do with your 4-bay spiders. You got, what you got there, you have a bolt there, a nut there, and there's your diagonal right there. It's actually cemented to that, and I heard people had difficulty trying to get your diagonal off. So anyway, if you have to make adjustments for some reason, you have to loosen that, tilt your mirror this way, move this one, and move that one. Okay, but the mirror is in great shape, so I was pretty impressed with that. So, okay, that's just another view of it. So I kept that into consideration. That's the Coulter Optical there in California. That was in Southern California, up in the mountains. That's the base. It's like this. It's almost like a 1-inch that oriented strand fiberboard that weighs a ton. They got like they got, what do you call it? The 2x4s right there with about 200 nail gun things and stuff like that in there. The Teflon, the bearings on the bottom is it's a piece of, like, you can't really say it's Teflon, it's plastic, but there's staples in that. So if you try to, every once in a while you're, so leaves much to be desired. But anyway, I says, I think I can do something with this. So anyway, and this is the telescope details. I just found this today. The University Lowbrows, they have a 17.5-inch up at their observing site. I think it's at Peach Mountain or something. They said they were going to make a new cell on this. Well, they said they had about 5 wraps of duct tape right there. So when they're taking that off, then there's a steel band that holds it into place, okay? So that's what's in this particular telescope. I haven't taken it off yet, but this is what I'm going to have to deal with, okay? So I have to, we're talking about mirror cells a little bit later. So that's basically what I got. History of the Coulter Optical. It was started in 1967 by James Bradington. The original optic manager for Coulter Optical was Stephen Murdoch, who later became CEO and president of Meade Instruments Corporation. Coulter Optical made mirrors for amateur telescope makers. Then they later began to make assemblies to hold them. They also made several types of telescopes. They had a CT100. I saw an ad of this. I couldn't find it. It was called a Copycat Telescope. It was just a little 4.5-inch mirror, and they had it's like a picture of half of a coffee can here, half of a coffee can here, mounted on an aluminum bar, a little helical focuser, and you just mounted on a photo tripod. A little portable scope. Everything broke down really nice. Okay. In May 1980, this is when they debuted their first Dobsonian Reflector. It was a 13.1-inch Dobsonian Reflector. And then they also had, which was popular at that time, they had what was called, they called them blue box scopes. The mirror, they actually didn't have a mirror cell, was held in a sling similar to our 22 inch. I think, don't we have like a sling for the mirror? That's what they did right there. Found out they had a lot of problems in when they shipped these. The 13 inch weighed 100 pounds. That's how much this unit, okay? So portable is not the right word. It was basically, it was movable, okay? It was movable. So anyway, eventually, having problems in the shipping and everything, they got a lot of damaged mirrors with this system. Then this, when they went to that mirror cell where they duct taped it in, put a steel band around it, and he says they reduced their cost of replacing mirrors shipped in transit. So in 1985, that's when they switched to the well-known red tube Coulter, okay? This is the blue box, okay? This will look like, okay? And there's that, let's see, gotta get this right there. There's that sling right there. So the mirror's out of it. So basically when you transported this, you could actually take the mirror out, go to your observing site, put it back in, close the box, start observing, okay? So that was
Hurt with your
box.
collimation?
What's that?
Doesn't it hurt with your?
Well, you still collimate it in the back.
Okay.
Okay. So, but every time I watched Steve Green whenever he did his 18 inch. When he put it in there, you have to kind of like seat it into place before you start doing any tweaking and everything. So that's one of the things right there that you deal with that. And note the handles on the mirror box, because it's 100 pounds. Like I'm saying, the entire assembly weighs 100 pounds. So you better have some handles somewhere to grab that. Okay. Because we're talking that oriented strand fiberboard. It weighs a lot, especially when it's 3/4 or an inch thick. Okay. The 1985 8 inch, they made its debut and had a focal ratio of f4.5, and it originally sold for $239 in 1985. In 1991, it was about $275. In 1993, they added an 8 inch f7. It fit on the same base as the f4.5. And they sold it as a package deal at one time with both scopes and one base. You have the best of both worlds, just for a short time. They said it was a ridiculously low price. Why wasn't I into astronomy back then? Huh? Okay. The largest mirror that Coulter Optical made was a 29 inch. And the National Administration of the Oceanic and Atmospheric Telescope situated on Mauna Loa volcano. You know where that's at, John?
It's on the Big Island.
Right, okay. But they had one, they started doing some research for atmospheric research. And the 29 inch mirror was supplied by Coulter Optical for that particular event. That was back in, I want to say it's about 1985, 86. This is where a lot of this information come from, okay? All the edges, this was pretty interesting, all the edges on, sometimes, I don't know if anybody has seen a mirror, you get one that's finished, and sometimes you see some, magic marker writing on it and everything has some numbers on it. All the edges on the f4.5 mirrors had a number that was circled. And it was actually a highly accurate reading of the mirror's curvature with an instrument they called, this is what it said from doing some research, they called it a comparator, okay? So what you did is that if you broke your mirror or something or needed a replacement, you would give that number to Coulter. And what they would do is they would find a matching mirror to either replace it into your telescope or make a binocular telescope. You'd have the exact same focal length. So if I said it had a -3 on my mirror, they would find one that when they go through the grinding thing, here's one with a -3, it should fit in the scope. Because remember, you're going to be adjusting your focus a little bit differently, okay? And I was able to find a couple images of it, and that's what they have on it right there, okay? You see f4.5, and there's that number that's circled 3, okay? The guy found out that way. He says, you're getting an f4.5, and when he actually did his optical bench test, he says, hey, you shorted me a couple inches. And that's what he found out right there when he did his calculations right there. He used the swag method for it, so that's how he found out a lot of this stuff. All right? So anyway, Coulter Optical also donated a 24-inch Pyrex blank to John Dobson and the San Francisco sidewalk astronomers to replace the 24-inch porthole mirror that broke from their club. So, John Dobson, that's what he normally did. He always used porthole mirrors and everything, but really, they did a lot of work with Coulter buying the Pyrex blanks. And the mirrors in the catalogs from Coulter were listed as Dobsonian mirrors. Okay, so that was pretty cool. And all their sales, brochures, and ads. The 1987 catalog, they had figured mirrors, 1/8 wave or better, and those were the prices at the time. They didn't have any 8 inches available. They started at 10.1 inch, And you can see the price of the longer focal length 10-inch was a little bit less than the shorter focal lengths, okay? And then they had Pyrex mirror blanks available in those diameters. They only made the 29-inch just for a short time. Those are the catalog prices for the telescope systems and their weight. And you can see right there that 13-inch 100. How about it at 17.5, 206 pounds? I'll throw that in my car, all right? And just to give you an idea what shipping costs at that time, they crated them, okay? So the Odyssey 8, it cost $75 to ship it to your home in a crate. So that's where amateur telescope making, I said, I think I'll just start with the mirror and get all my parts locally, okay? At least I would, okay? 1995, James Bradenton became ill and really couldn't keep the company going and went bankrupt. In 1996, James Bradenton passed away. The Coulter name and the remaining assets were sold to Murnahan Industries of Florida. They sold a slightly updated version of the Odyssey, and it sold for about $399. They stopped production in 2001, and I remember this site, and you'll see down on the bottom right there, because when I was doing my telescope building and I was looking for parts, I went to this site. They still had those Odysseys available for sale. This was in 2000. Then a few years later, I was looking for things, and all of a sudden they stopped making them. But currently, they do have an 8-inch kit with those items in their primary and secondary mirrors, a spider, helical focuser. It's a better helical focuser than the other one that you saw. Eyepiece and some edge trim, $349 for the 8-inch, and the 6-inch kit is $249. You can buy the mirrors separate. I think the 8-inch is an f6, so you have a nice, that's a nice size, and the 6-inch is an f8. Okay, and that is their website if you're interested in making a telescope. Okay, escopes.cc. It's still there. Okay. Okay. Anyway, after looking at all these pictures and all these, especially looking at that mirror cell, what I got to deal with. Okay, so my plan to make upgrades and improvements to it, I assessed the functionality of this telescope. Okay, so I didn't like the helical focuser. That mirror cell, if I was to bring it out to Stargate on open house night, it might cool down by the next open house. So I needed to get some airflow in that mirror. So, and also I got to keep in mind too, because that's a kind of like a fixed focal length where that hole is like for the focuser. I want to design my mirror cell so I have the right where the mirror is at right now, so I can make adjustments. So that's something I got to take into consideration. I also determined what other improvements could be made and construction designs from previous telescopes that I made. Okay, so here we go. Let's go through the gallery. Okay, so I know that I'm going to upgrade the mirror cell. Okay, and we got to open up the end somehow. So I'm still thinking of that. I know I have mirror cells that I can put in there, but I just have to do some figuring. And here's some mirror cells possibilities. This one right here happens to be a University Optics. They still make them. They're based in Ann Arbor. It's an aluminum cell. This is one of my 8-inch scopes. This one right here is a urethane cell. This is a black plastic urethane that I was making the mirror cells, and I happen to have one right here. We can pass it around. It's urethane plastic. It's poured in a mold. It's a 50-50, 1-to-1 ratio. You pour it into a mold, and after it was previously constructed, make a mold. The plastic hardens in 15 minutes. In about 20 minutes, you can take it out and you can start machining it. So you can actually do some production with it and everything. So I worked with Steve Green on that, one of our former members. Actually, I think he's still a member. Okay, still a member. But anyway, Steve was a great mentor to me in amateur telescope making. So we used to have some great talks on that. Okay. Now this is a 10-inch mirror cell that I have. Okay. Collimation, and then right there. So there's a lot of airflow on that. So I know I'm definitely going to have some improvement on that right there. Okay. But this is my first mirror cell that I purchased for my scope. Come from the Polaris Telescope shop on Michigan Avenue in Dearborn. I bought this in 1968. I remember going on down there. What I really like about this one, I think our 10-inch, if you look in the back, I think we have a 10-inch mirror cell from Polaris looking there. What's nice about this one is right here you have sliding mounts. So if your tube sizes vary, you can actually adjust that so you can actually spread it out. So that's at the max, so it fit perfectly in my tube. Then you have 2 screws to tighten up collimation bolts, and then I added some mirror locks to it. You see these little white, they're knurled knobs, but they're white like plastic nylon. Larry Kalinowski told me, he said, I'm having a problem getting this mirror centered. He says, just add 3 little knurled knobs in there, and as you're getting it centered, just keep turning each one. So I have like 6 points of contact where I'm keeping that mirror centered in the optical tube. So I really appreciate Larry helping me with that right there.
Hey, Mark,
Yes.
Where was that?
What's that?
What was the intersection of Michigan?
I'm not sure where it was at I don't know how long they lasted in there, but then somewhere downtown Dearborn. It was
Michigan military?
East or west?
It was 1968.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just wondering if it's around the corner from our house.
Could be. I don't know what it is now. It could be a Coney Island, maybe. I don't know. So,
It's not.
Okay, all right. Anyway, the 2-vein spider diagram, if you look in the brochure, like normally if you're trying to collimate something, you're looking in the inside, you're seeing this, okay, with your mirror, the dot, trying to get it lined up. What you're seeing there, you're seeing the bar right here and the mirror. So you don't have any of this over here to go by to see if you're mirror. So that's when you got to move that stuff. So I says, I don't have time to be doing that. So I know I'm going to be doing something about that right there. Okay, so just want to make sure everything's collimated so you're really getting a good image. Okay. I'm going to go to a 4-vein secondary mount. This is another one that was poured with urethane plastic. Made a mold for this. Got some steel strapping. Actually punched holes in the strapping when it was inserted in the mold. Made sure it just touched right up to the edge of the center hole right there. Poured the plastic in there. All you have to do is machine it and start making your mirror cell. Cut the ends to size, put on little connectors. So that's something else that can be made urethane plastic. And it works really well. So that's one of my finished ones right there. That was for a 6-inch that I made right there. That's what it looks like from that side. That's all machined with the connectors, little hex, like those hex barrels, threaded 632 and mechanical connections. And it collimates really well, nice and solid right there. Okay. This one I actually cut from my 8-inch, my first telescope. It came from University Optics in 2001. They used to custom make them. You had to give them the inside diameter of your telescope. They made it from there. Steve Green suggested that I add these knurled knobs to make, that way you're not fiddling with the screwdriver and trying to collimate it. That's all you know. Yeah, Bob's knobs, right? Okay, this is Steve's knobs right here, okay? So anyway, but that worked really well. So you could actually, in a moment's notice, just reach in there and just do a little, so it worked out really nice. You can still, you can still see where you can use a screwdriver, okay? And I'm gonna replace that focus arrow, okay? So something low profile, Crayford, or sometimes they have a quality helical focus, or Antares made one with threads. There's probably some other ones out there. But anyway, I want to keep that same stuff right there. I definitely am going to move that Telrad up the tube, okay? This is what I got from Jim's Mobile back in 2001. That one, a 2-inch, cost $79. I saved $20 by getting it in the kit form and assembling it myself. So I can follow directions pretty good, and that's what I got. That's a real nice focuser. I just may transfer that onto this particular telescope. And then move the Telrad finder up to the top of the tube near the telescope, and then maybe add an 8x50 because it's nice to see some of those faint things. That's an Antares 8x50 that I purchased from Bob Watt. He was selling Antares products. I'm going to add a dovetail mount for an 8x50 finder. And another thing too, this particular dovetail right there, that was made out of plastic. And I was just showing some of the people right here. I poured a mold of it, okay, took it out like this. Just have one end that you just have to sand, little spray paint with, you have that hammered metal finish. Drill and tap it, and you got yourself a nice dovetail mount. In 2001, these cost $795 from Orion telescopes. They're now priced at $19. So that's why I went with, once I found out I can make that. So price is a lot, it has a lot to do sometimes when you're making a telescope. And sometimes when you buy all the parts to make it, it costs more than buying one commercially. And then this base, okay? You can see some of the pads there. How are we doing on time?
No, it's good.
Okay. I'm moving
Yep.
along right there.
Yeah, 29 more minutes.
The entire base upgrade like this, but I think I'm going to go another route. I'm going to use a folding Dob base. Okay, this is what I found. This is my idea. I saw this on back in Astromark back in 2001, and somebody was actually making these bases. And how this works is, there it is laying flat. Okay, there it is, side view. That's your first, you're lifting up one side, and then you're rotating it around. So I got a hinge, there's a couple of hinges, there's actually 3 hinges in the system. You spin it around, okay? And then, once you connect it, you have like inserts, threaded inserts that are right in there somewhere, and it doesn't protrude to the bottom, just careful measuring. And then you just started tightening everything up. So I have 3 connections there. There's the front of the base, the back of the base, and one up near the top. And actually, I could almost get away. I tried it without putting this one in right here, and it's still stable. I actually made a working model right here. This is so I could figure out what the heck I was doing before I even started cutting any wood. So this is it right here. I'll go like this, spin it around, okay? Then just do your knobs on there. So, and it makes it nice when the missus says, that's too big, you're not putting it in the car when we're going up north. So I said, well, if I can get it a little smaller and fit it in the car, well, let me go. So when I came up with this design, telescopes are going up north with me all the time. So you're more than welcome. We can, please look at that when we go around, okay?
How much weight did you say?
Actually, I could save more weight. I know I saved probably about 20 pounds just with this wood alone compared to the other one, okay? But I can even go further. The company, they were called First Base Dobbs. They're just a local group. They just did things out of their, their little wood shop. They had, what they had, they would actually cut out openings in the side to reduce the weight even more. I was worried about stability a little bit too, you know what I mean? I didn't want it too light. I've been observing, you ever observe out in windy weather and all of a sudden your scope's shaking even though it's okay, that's something I was concerned about too. Also on this, I did some threaded inserts and I can actually install a handle so that way if I get to my observing site, I set everything up, I install the handles, just screw right in there, and that's it completed right there. So I could lighten this up by, cutting a hole here, maybe right here, and the other side, that'll lighten up the weight a little bit, everything, okay? And that's the inside of it, okay, see how that goes? And you can also take out, you can actually do 2 things right here. You can just use knobs. I have 2 threaded inserts into the round knob base on the bottom, so I can actually take that apart, separate the 2 components. Or you can just, that's a little close-up on it right there, okay? Or you can just use something that's sunk below the surface, and that way you can fold it completely flat so it's not laying on the knobs, okay? So that's one for my 8-inch, that's my 8-inch f7, and that's for my 13-inch job right there, okay? The 8-inch f7, I got like a 60-inch tube, okay? That way, my 13-inch is a 64-inch tube, but I have a real low center of gravity. It's at 4.5, so that's how that works out right there, okay? Okay, my gallery of telescopes. My daughter has probably seen all of these. Maybe she hasn't seen all of them, okay? But, all right. Here we go. From 2001 to the present, okay? This is probably my most recent one. I bought 5 4.5-inch f8 mirrors, supposedly f8 until I put them on the bench and found out they were all different focal lengths, okay? But one of these telescopes, just like this right here, I built 5 of them. One of them I donated to the Wilder branch in Detroit, and I'm actually going to be doing a telescope training class. They're providing volunteers to use the telescope to do some outreach there, try to do outreach a separate way. Try to get some of their volunteers that want to learn astronomy, show them how to use the telescope. And then if they can schedule events at their own leisure, in case a member of the Warren Astronomical Society is not available to help them out. So I'm working with that. Talking about the plastic, you can see this, that was molded out of the plastic. This one right here was made out of PVC caps. The price of these have gone up drastically. I think when I got these, they were like $2 a piece. Now they're about $7 or $8, 4-inch cap. So everything's going up. I guess that's the nature of the beast right there, okay? This is another look. And something I added on this one, I wanted to get something where sometimes, I don't know if you ever carried telescopes, it has a handle like the Gerry Dobbs, like the 8-inch. You grab the handle, what does it want to do? It wants to go this way, right? With this longer handle, I found out when I did that, you can find the center of gravity so it's level. So you can slide your hand. You have this much room to find the comfortable spot where it's not tilting. So it really makes a difference. So it's basically a one-piece telescope. I added some tension bearings just like they have with the Dobson, with the Urethane Dobbs, okay? That's it, standing straight up right there. So I store it that way. You can lay it flat. but that helps with the transporting of it, okay? That's the mirror cell, 4.5-inch mirror cell. It's like that's the one that we're passing around there. Then I also did a 6-inch job. This was probably my second scope that I built, and that's kind of like the Orion style base right there. I would like to have that feature on the 4.5-inch with that. It would help me carry that around a little bit. It's really not a heavy scope, but you want to carry it somewhere, and it just wants to go its own way. I get some real nice images on that. This is my 8-inch f7. This happened to be advertised in the WASP. Larry Kalinowski gave me a call one day, and he saw me, fiddling around with these scopes. Hey, Mark, check out this ad. He says, you might want to look at this. So I went to see the gentleman. He had this listed, 8-inch f7 mirror with a Parks optical fiberglass tube. When I started doing pricing on the optical tube by itself, it was $175 just for the tube. I got the tube and a 70-pound pipe mount, which I had no use for that, but I took it as part of the package. That happened to be an 8-inch f7 Coulter mirror that he got in the 1970s that was sold. And I got a diagonal along with it. I got that entire thing for $100. Constructed it to come out really nice. I really like this. So I bought a University Optics 8-inch mirror cell for that. This is my 13-inch Dob, okay? The mirror in this was actually ground and polished by Steve Green, and he was ready to throw it in the garbage. I said, let me give a crack at it. He was having some problems with the figuring, but we got it all worked out, and it's I get some great views of this. Joe, you looked through this one, I believe, right? Yeah. Come out really nice, and that's you notice the big bearings I got in this right here. I actually got these from cutting out the tube cradle. Oh, right here. So try to use all the wood that you got right there. And it really helps with the balance. So if you're changing accessories on it, you're not changing the gravity, how it's balanced and everything. So you can really, top loader to find the right spot where you can do your changes if you have a heavy eyepiece or something. And this really moves really nice and smooth with the Teflon bearings and everything. That's a mirror cell. I got that material. That's 1/4-inch aluminum. I was taking my dog for a walk. I don't know if my daughter knows this or not. And they had some storm ditches going down Stevens over there in Warren. And I looked in there. I said, "Look, something was laying in the ditch. It was a piece of 36 inches by 48-inch aluminum plate just laying in the ditch that fell off a truck that was going to a factory." It's crazy. It just fell into my lap. Because at that time, I was trying to work on a mirror cell. And I said, hey, check this out, okay? I already had the use for it by the time I got home, okay? My dog was happy, he got a walk, and I had material for my mirror cell. The heavens were looking down upon us.
I guess they were.
This is my dreamscope, my first project that I made right there. And I said, on this one right here, I can't find the pictures when I went through all my modifications. And this is the thing that was kind of like my test scope. Still works great and everything, but I have another folding Dob base made for that. I just haven't finished it and everything. I got all the parts, just got to assemble it just like that right there and ready to go. Okay. So in there, I'm advertising the Warren Astronomical Society right there. See that? That happens to be a cake pan from Michael's that happens to fit in that tube perfectly. Okay. Telescope ATM gods are looking down upon me. Okay. And then I got another cake pan and made myself an off-axis solar filter with some of that astronomy solar film. So that's when I got into solar astronomy. Rick Gossett would really help me a lot with doing some solar observing and everything. So it's just a beautiful item, and it fits really nice in here. Okay. And I have the Polaris mirror cell in there also. So really happy with this. Now these plastics. Still got some time?
Yep.
Yep. Where's my timer? Did I run out? Okay, I did. Okay, anyway. Urethane plastic. How this plastic works, there's the mold stuff that's called dragon skin. I asked someone, because I tried to do some things with molding, and I couldn't get the part out of the mold because the rubber was very rigid. So he actually led me to this stuff. It's called dragon skin. He says if you have like a hole the size of the pencil of this, you can stretch it 10 times its size without the rubber ripping. Okay, so this part right here, so you can pull this out, really flexible, part comes out. Can reuse it over and over, just like with these. Also did, now this come in handy, like when you buy this, you have usually a finder scope in it, they don't sell you this. They assume that you have it. $7.95 and 2001, almost costs $20 now for aluminum. So I made my own. So mirror stalks, sometimes I find, you know, tubes. So anyway, I poured this mold, had to engineer it so I can get it out of the mold. And you go like this, just pop it out. You got a part here's one of the molds that come on out. You got yourself a dovetail right there. Okay. Isn't that neat? So that's pretty cool. So anyway, I found a way to, to make telescopes, I have parts available to do these modifications. So anyway, you have dragon skin. You can actually pour this mold. It comes in fast, medium, and they call it slow. You can actually pour your molds in. You're ready to go, and it cures in 75 minutes. So you give it about like 3 hours, you're ready to start pouring molds. That's the cure time on the mold itself. This black plastic is a whole other story. You better have your stuff together, okay? This Onyx Fast, you have approximately 2 minutes to mix it up, stir it, get it into your mold. Because after that, you can actually hold it when it's at 2.5 minutes. It's a string of black plastic, and it hardens just like this. It'll stay that way. So that's the liquid rubber right there, and it's that's about, you get 2 16-ounce bottles, part A, part B, and that runs about $29. You get that locally at a local plastic place, TFB Plastic 23 in Shaner. This is the Onyx Fast. This runs about $25 for part A and B. Real easy to mix. Okay, there's no big formulas or anything. So these are parts I made. All the mirror cells, 10-inch mirror cell. That's the 4.5-inch mirror cell with the mirror mounted in it. Okay, and we showed that again. There's a finder scope stock right there. Okay, the things I have on the table. Dovetail mount, processed and finished part. Diagonal spider mount, and the spider vane mount. Okay, I hope you enjoyed the presentation. Thank you. Are there any questions?
Yeah, Bob.
Any
you first.
questions? Yes.
Yep, the plastic you pour, like, you know, the finder mount, like that, how strong is that plastic? I mean, is it pretty bendable a little bit, or?
It's rigid. Steve Green, because we were working with Steve Green, said when he did some research, it's in the data with it, it has a shore hardness of 80, which is the same hardness as the hard hats they use in construction.
Oh, that's what it is.
Okay, so that's pretty rigid.
Yeah.
Okay. And what's nice about it, you can sand it, polish it, if you want to take the time buffing it, drill and tap it. So I'm just saying, if you just need something that, even say if you have a plastic part or some part you want to reconstruct, or you know, and you know it's not going to handle the stress, glue it together, keep it in one spot, make a mold of it, you pour it into the plastic, and you can make yourself a replacement part for something. I'm doing something like that for my father-in-law. He had a cracked cap for his leaf blower. So I got the part, I got it all together really good. I'm just going to make a mold of it, and he's got a brand new cap for it.
That place you said is on 23 and
23 and Shaner, it's a little east of Shaner, it's on Olmo Road, TFB Plastics. I have a card I can give you if you're interested in that.
I live right.
Okay.
We live right.
Right, so, yes, Joe.
Mark, two-part question.
Yes, sir.
Part one, does paint adhere to that black plastic?
What's that now?
Paint? The paint?
Yes.
So it adheres well, doesn't chip off, nothing
No.
like
In
that?
fact, like, what's nice about this, because a lot of our telescope parts, they're the black hammered enamel. If I was to paint this, a white one and this, they both look the same. It adheres to it really well. Does a very nice job. Acetone, if you want to, you know, since it's coming out shiny and everything, you know, a little acetone on the finish, it'll catch a little bit more.
Yeah.
When I actually showed this to the guy at TFB Plastics, John Milenovich, he's the owner over there, he looked at this, he's going, man, there's something wrong with your mold, it's got all these little dimples in it. And I said, that's the hammered finish part. So I showed him the original part, so he says, that's pretty good, so it really picks up detail. It picks up all your mistakes too, so you really want to have a good part when you're casting. Any other questions? Yes, John?
How do you make the mold? You just put it in a little box? And then
You want to get a rigid side, okay? You want to have a rigid side, a box. A lot of, like you said, you saw the size of this box. Okay, I was trying to make a lot of parts minimalist, okay? So, but you got to have at least a ½ inch wall around it, okay? So, because if you have anything thinner, you pour it into it. In some cases, it might bulge a little bit. You might not keep the true shape of it. So, but what I would do in some cases, if I knew the wall was a little thin, I'd put it back in the original container, pour the mold. I knew it wouldn't be expanding or anything.
So with the one with the with the finder scope holder, that one has the slit in it, you just pour it, in
I just actually have two, I have two cavities. I got this one right here. Now when I had to do this one right here, I had to pour the mold like this. That was in the bottom of the box, okay? Pour the mold in, because if I had that reversed, I wouldn't be able to get out of the mold because the
Right.
cone's in the opposite direction. So when I did that, so here it is when I poured the mold, it was like this. And that's what you see right here. So you're able to just cut the slit, pull it out, and like I'm saying, you can hold it together like I said, when you pour it in there, like 2.5 minutes, it's setting up. Then you just have to let it cure. One of them I did, I think this one right here, I poured it in a little bit too late. Sometimes you get air bubbles in certain cavities. I got a big air bubble right here. But that's not going to affect trying to find any objects or anything, or reduce the thing. Also, in your finder stalks, you have a hollow cavity in here. You've probably seen that. Well, I covered it up because I was worried about strength. So this is actually a solid piece of plastic just by covering the cavity. So I actually strengthened the mouth by doing that. It was pretty good. All right. Any other questions?
What kind of material is that mold? Where do you get that?
This is called Dragon Skin. It's a platinum pure silicone. You can get this at the TFB Plastics.
Oh, at that 23?
At the 23.
Oh,
In fact, it was, every time I stopped in to see John, he showed me, he said, I got to show you this. He's always showing me stuff, and he brings out this, looked like a yellow brick. When they filmed The Great and Powerful Oz here in Pontiac, they were buying the stuff in 55-gallon drums, and they poured it all by plastic, the entire Yellow Brick Road for the movie. So they filmed the scenes with the Yellow Brick Road, he says, then they packed it all up, put it in crates, and shipped it back to Hollywood. But he has some of the yellow bricks, but he bought all the plastic from him because he was local. So he ordered it. But it was like 55-gallon drums he was coming in. So,
I think Jeff had his hand up. Did you?
okay.
What do you use for your bottom turntable for your dot mounts? Just Teflon or?
Yeah, I use Teflon, like Teflon pads. If you can ever find Ebony Star, they don't make that stuff anymore. So it's just based like Formica up on the top, and I have the Teflon pads on the bottom.
So no ball bearings or
No.
anything?
No.
CDs work good for that.
What's that?
Old CDs. work
Absolutely, absolutely. So.
I have one question, Mark.
Yes.
Do you ceremonially burn the disused tubes when you make new ones?
What's that now?
Do
Ceremonial
you burn them? Yeah.
Oh, we can if you want. We have a bonfire.
Talk to
at
Gary Ross.
Warren.
That's what he does.
We'll give him one so he can get a fire started.
You should go to
That's
his,
good, thank you.
Okay.
his family.
Well, if there's no further questions, I appreciate you letting me show you this stuff, and works out really good. Thank you.